Lesson 7.1, Day 1 Notes. For these examples, we will find the axis of symmetry and vertex for each quadratic function. Remember, for a quadratic function, the graph is a parabola, a U shape. The axis of symmetry is the line that cuts the parabola in two symmetrical halves. The equation negative b over 2a can be used to find the axis of symmetry. So therefore, we will start the problem by naming our a as -1, our b as -4, and our c as -5. We will use these values in the axis of symmetry formula. So x equals -1 times b. You will do best if you put a -1 in front of the b when you're evaluating, over 2a. Substituting each value in -b over 2a and then work it out. -1 times -4 is +4. 2 times -1 is -2, and then we will divide. So the axis of symmetry of this equation would be -2. Now we will identify the vertex. The vertex of a parabola is the highest or lowest point. And the picture I've drawn is the lowest point. But remember, a parabola can also open down. The axis of symmetry would be in the center, cutting it in two symmetrical halves, and you could have the highest point. Since we know the x value of the axis of symmetry, it will be the same as the x value of your vertex. So now we just need to find the y value. We can do that by substituting this x value back into the function. When we work it out, we'll find our y value of the vertex. So -2 will be our x value. We just need to evaluate and find the y value. So take the original equation that you're given and substitute the x value that you found for the axis of symmetry. You could evaluate this a step at a time using order of operations. Also, the calculator can evaluate this because it does order of operations correctly as well. So -1 times -2 squared minus 4 times -2 minus 5. If you're going to use the calculator, you must make sure that every parentheses, exponent, and negative that you have written on your paper, you have the same in your calculator screen. So that y value equals -1. So that means the y value of our vertex is going to be -1. The x value is the same as the axis of symmetry. The y value, you plug in the x value from the axis of symmetry and evaluate to find the y. So the vertex of this function, when graphed, would be at -2, -1. Example number 2. We will still start by naming our a, b, and c. Be very careful to name a, b, and c correctly. A will be with the x squared term, so our a is 3. B is with the bx term. We do not have a bx term, therefore our b is 0. And finally, our c is the constant, so it is 7. If you were to name a as 3 and b as any other number other than 0, you would miss this problem Be very careful to name ax squared plus bx plus c correctly when naming your a, b, and c. So our axis of symmetry, we'll use the formula negative b over 2a. Negative b over 2a, plug in your 0 and your 3 for your b and your a terms, and then evaluate this equation. Negative 1 times 0 and 2 times 3. When I divide 0 by 6, it is a 0. One special note to always pay attention to is if your b is 0, your axis of symmetry will always be 0. Now let's find our vertex. Because the axis of symmetry is 0, that means the x value of our vertex will be 0. We need to plug this in to find our y value. Use the original equation that you're working with to plug in your x value from your axis of symmetry. If using a calculator, be sure to type in everything exactly as you've written it when you plug things in. We can use order of operations easily on this one. Exponents first, 0 squared is 0. Then multiply, so 0 times 3, all of that is still 0. And then we add 7. So 0 plus 7 is 7. You could also check this with a calculator. So the y value of the vertex would be 7. Example number 3. Notice we only have 2 terms, therefore either our a or b or c would be 0. If your a is 0, you would not have a quadratic. So really only you should be working with equations that b or c would be 0. Let's check this one out. A in this equation is 1. The understood coefficient will be 1 when there's no number in front of the variable. B in this case is 4. We have a bx term, so the b is the number in front of that variable x. So in this case, c is the 0. Pause the video to try this one on your own, finding the axis of symmetry and vertex. Did you find the axis of symmetry to be -2? Use that value in your vertex. If using a calculator, be sure to punch in everything exactly as you see it. If you do not correctly put -2 in parentheses, it will cause your answer to come out incorrect. Our y value is -4.